Now, some analysts argue that Trump's stance could embolden Russia by weakening NATO's deterrence power. What do you have on that?
Well, I don't know if Trump's stance will necessarily, especially with regard to Russia, will necessarily undermine the capacities of NATO. First of all, we know that President Trump thinks that the USA are paying too much for NATO, and he wants EU countries or other, let's say, NATO members, that are most of them EU countries, to pay more, to commit more resources to NATO. There is as well another thing. There is disagreement between President Trump and most EU leaders who would like to continue war, while the US president stated several times that he's more in favor of trade relations or trade confrontation, but not necessarily in favor of armed conflicts or more wars. I would say that this channel of negotiation that is mainly between two big powers, Russia and the US, it looks like Yalta, a new Yalta, where big powers make deals and lesser powers or smaller countries just have to follow. So it's not as well good news for EU countries who had ambitions to be more significant, diplomatically speaking. But once again, if we look at the conflict in Ukraine or the conflict, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it seems that the EU is ineffective, and this long ineffectiveness paved the way for this kind of maybe not new bipolar order, but new leadership, this new US-Russian leadership, especially over Eurasian crisis.
You mean here that the United States' influence is getting much better, much bigger than the EU's abilities, and that the influence of countries like Russia, China, and other actors are getting more than the Europeans as actors?
Well, the US president made it clear in his first mandate and in his second mandate that he would like to make, as I said, America great again. What does it mean? In fact, to preserve US leadership. However, his vision about US global leadership is not the same vision as the one of President Biden or the Democrats or even other neo-conservatives among the Republican Party, historically speaking. He wants to preserve. Yes, sorry.
Yes. No, I may ask you here, if the US reduces its military presence in Europe, how might countries like Germany and France respond? And could we see the emergence of a truly independent European defense alliance at then?
Well, there may be less in the future US troops in Europe. It's a move that was as well initiated before President Trump. It won't be good news for Germany or other NATO members, because here it's not just about EU, it's more about NATO as well, because they could lose military resources, fundings, we should commit more resources. Many as well European armies face great challenges. The German army or the French armies, they have operational problems, they have capacity problems, resource problems, manpower as well problems. So it's not really good news for them, because they have to commit more resources, and I'm not sure they are able, especially given the current economic crisis we have in Germany, we have in France, and other countries. So it's in fact raising many questions about the strategic future of EU countries and NATO, and I'm not sure that we will see soon independent European Union in strategic terms. I'm not sure.
Now, looking forward, and as you said, could this be or these policies be a kind of turning point for the transatlantic relations, or is Trump's approach a short-term disruption that Europe will have to manage until the next US elections?
It's a very good question. Maybe it could be both. We don't know who will be the next US president, and we don't know in 4 years how the USA will be, how US citizens will feel with regard to not President Trump, who won't be able to be re-elected because of the US Constitution, but maybe Vice President Vance or another similar person. However, it's true that it's a turning point in the transatlantic relation. It's a very important turning as well, but EU countries are not really the US partner, I would say. So once again, it looks more like New Yalta, where you have a deal between big powers or big powers that consider themselves as the most relevant. So it's namely Russia and the US in this case, but it could be as well China or other powers.